This video is about the period of time in development known as middle childhood, which is roughly between ages 6 and 12. Middle childhood is a period of time where children are developing progressively more skills for being independent and are needing less and less adult help across many domains. Parents across many cultures begin to give children in this stage of development more autonomy and also to assign them to more responsibilities. Children in the United States, for example, during this stage are expected to do their chores more and more independently and can often genuinely contribute to the needs of the household. This is also the time when children in the US begin to spend significant periods of time away from their parents as they start school full-time and can spend longer periods of time without needing direct supervision. For children in the middle childhood period, school is an important context for development, and we'll be talking about that quite a bit. To start, I'd like to watch a video of someone at the beginning of this stage. This is a video of a little boy who is about 7 talking to an older man.
Oh, you have yours. What's that? Okay.
I don't know where the questions, I don't know where the song is.
Well, can I ask you a question, the first one? Right. What is the worst thing about being young?
Well, you get lots of homework. It's also pretty, they're like in the middle, like in school, like in the middle of bad and good.
Oh.
What is the worst thing about being old?
Not being able to do things that you could do when you were young.
You can't bend down and get stuff on the floor.
Well, I can still do that, but the problem is your body gets a bit stiff.
I know it hurts a lot when you try to get down when you are
That's
old.
right, yes. You might get sick more often. Hopefully I don't. But that's the problem.
That's pretty bad.
It is pretty bad.
The only time I went to a hospital is my mom to get me born.
Oh, yeah. Do you wish you were old?
Maybe. So I was old and I can buy stuff for my own and have been married, but that'll be you. Do you wish you were young? Why?
Well, the problem...
So that gives you a short idea of what conversations with a child towards the beginning of the middle childhood period is like. You can see that he's able to have a conversation and he's operating relatively independently, but there are a lot of childlike ways that he's involved in this conversation and the way that he's thinking about it. Next, let's look at a video of kids who are at the end of the middle childhood period.
I want to stay a child. I want to stay young. I don't want to grow up. I don't want to have that much responsibility. So I would love to stay 12 years old, but that's not going to happen.
I'm Spencer, and being 12 means being who you are. What do you like? Do you like your hair down, like types of clothes? A kid, like a mature kid. I'm not quite a teenager. I'm like on the last stretch, the last 50 meters of the race. Girls are like, they're just so...
Dating when you're 12 is like kissing, holding hands, making woman crush Wednesdays on Instagram.
I'm afraid to even go near girls because I'm afraid they'll laugh at me. It's just kind of scary. He has to be tall, slick back hair, like that.
It's like she's my friend, and I'm just kind of waiting for the moment I man up and tell her, you know.
Well, I really want to get into a good high school, to get into a good college, to be successful in life.
I pray 5 times a day. That's also mandatory in my house because we're a very religious family.
My family is all vegetarian, and I've never eaten meat before.
since I'm confident in my style, like I know if like someone like did like bully me about it, I would just be like whatever, like you're just jealous because you know I have a unique like style that you don't.
If they have Augustus.
All right. So that gives you an idea of 12-year-olds. So the kids at the end of this age range, and they're sort of talking and thinking about what it means to be in the end of the middle childhood period. And you can see some of the ways that their conversational skills have developed, and also the types of things that they're talking about in terms of peer relationships and identity, and developing independent identity a little bit differently than the younger child was. All right, so let's learn a little bit more about the specifics of this period. During middle childhood, children enter a period of cognitive development known as the concrete operational stage in Piaget's terms. This means that they start to do mental operations or mental actions that are organized ways of thinking that can help them to figure out new problems and novel challenges. In this stage, they are able to think about many parts of a problem and to organize those parts into a plan for solving problems. One notable thing that you'll see during this period is a declining focus on themselves with more ability to think about things from multiple perspectives. One of the important parts of cognitive development at this time of development is children's increasing cognitive skills and tools that they can use for processing information. This is in terms of a stronger and faster working memory, developing strategies for remembering, and also just knowing more things. They're able, because they can have a stronger memory during this period than when they were younger, they can hold on to more information and just know more about the world as ways of using those cognitive skills. With increases in memory, we also see improvements in children's ability to sustain attention and executive functioning, which is a way that children can control or prepare for when to act and when not to in a planful way. So those are some of the big things that we're seeing in terms of cognitive development. Language development. Children enter the period of middle adolescence as language users. They're used to communicating using language and have developed fairly robust language skills. You could see that at the first video we watched, he's a good conversationalist in some ways, right? He is a language user. Conversations at the beginning of this period, children can hold a conversation, but their skills are limited by their vocabulary, their attention skills, and their cognitive development. If you think about the conversation you're watching the 7-year-old have. By the end of the period, children are having adult-like conversations. The topics might be slightly different, but they can relate to another person, have a complicated conversation with you. Because school is so central during this time, one of the types of language you talk about is the language of school. Children are learning the specific language of school, which is a very specific version of language that likely differs from their speech at home, even if they're technically the same language or they only speak one language. Language is also central to the tasks of school, where their receptive language skills are used to learn information, and their expressive language skills are the things that they have to use to show what they know. So during this period, children are really learning a lot about how to speak school and to use language in a school way, and then their language skills are really being taxed both in terms of understanding and expressing. And then during this period, children are learning to use language in a creative way. There's many, many different ways of using language. They're learning to read and write and use creative expression of language. So those are all parts of their expansions in language development. Physical development. Children in the middle childhood period improve in strength, agility, and balance, allowing them to do more coordinated and planful actions with their body. This is also the first period of development where very notable differences in height and body weight show up between kids for many reasons. Children also begin to specialize in some types of movements based on their interests and their cultural expectations of them by gender, by social group, by family needs. So while children are improved in all areas across this period, a child interested in, say, arts and crafts will develop more fine-tuned finger coordination, while a star soccer player may be focusing on developing stamina and coordinated legs. So those are a couple of things that are really important during this time in physical development. Social and emotional development. During middle childhood, children are developing a more complex understanding of themselves through social comparison. That is, they're evaluating how they compare to their peers and developing a stable sense of themselves. Children during this period are also exploring more complex understandings of morality and the beliefs and values of their culture. A big part of the social and emotional development at this stage is peer relationships. Children are spending more time with peers and less with family, meaning that they are increasingly developing their understandings of the world from these contexts, from school and from peers. Things like popularity, social status, and friendship all play big roles during this time in how children are forming their sense of themselves and others. And you could hear that in the 12-year-old video, right? By the end of that story, they're talking a lot about their relationships with peers and defining what it was like to be their age or to be themselves in relation to others. All right, and so here we are at the big questions. As you can see, this is a period of big transitions as children adjust to a school and peer-focused life, and they're also becoming more independent beings in the world. There are ways that children are differentiating from their peers in a big way, and learning to manage that diversity is part of the challenges of this period. Here are a few big questions for you to keep in mind during your readings and classes this week. The first is, with more independence, what contexts or factors outside of the family impact development during this period? What would you want to be keeping an eye on when thinking about contextual factors? The second is, how does the context of school impact children's development? How would this be different for children whose homes are more similar to school environments or more different from their school environment? And the third, how does the heterogeneity of physical development impact peer relationships? What about other areas of development? What does it mean to be in the first period of time when people's bodies are going to be very, very different from each other in terms of height, weight, periods of how developed they are? And the last one, what are some potential targets for outreach or proactive mental health care that school counselors might focus on during this period? We'll be doing some reading about that, the idea of school counselors, and that's a great question to be thinking about while you're reading about the development. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and we look forward to seeing you in class.